green lovers, it is mid-November and for me, that is the time of year that I get to plant garlic. So this has been in the refrigerator for about 8 weeks or so because I live in Northern California. It's really warm here and garlic likes to have that sort of cold spell before they're ready to push out those roots. The trick though is to wait until the temperatures outside are similar to your refrigerator conditions, at least at nighttime. So I wait till the temperatures are well under 50 degrees at night consistently before I plant my garlic. In fact, I wait till about 2 weeks before my frost date, which is right about now. And so now let me show you what types of garlic I'm going to be planting this year. Now, what type of garlic I choose is really important, especially because of my warmer climate. I grow the soft neck varieties. I don't tend to grow hardneck, even though they do okay here. They don't do as well as they do in some northern climates. So I go with the soft neck varieties. This one over here is a California late white, and I got mine from Peaceful Valley Farm, by the way. I like to get seed garlic, but I also try organic garlic from the grocery store. But I like to get some varieties that I don't get at the grocery store. So that's why I also buy seed garlic. So this California late white should do well. It says California, right? And this music garlic as well is a soft neck variety that I hear grows really, really well in my Northern California climate. I'm also going to try growing elephant garlic this year. So these are these large garlics, and actually they're not even garlic. They are in the allium family, more closely related to leeks, but they've got that mild garlicky flavor that I absolutely love. So I'm going to be growing elephant garlic. It's a perennial, so it can keep coming back year after year. It keeps dividing, keeps growing. So I'm hoping that this is a one-time plant and have forever kind of thing. I always like to grow something that I can just set and forget, and I'm hoping elephant garlic is that way. First, let me show you the elephant garlic. That is big. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pods in this one. Okay, so this is what my elephant garlic looks like. Got some really large pods. I observed that there were roughly 5 pods per bulb, 5 or 6. This is holding together really, really tightly. You know what? I'm just going to plant this as is because I don't want the papery shell to come off that leaves it vulnerable to pests. You peel them and you leave the papery shell on top of it. Do not remove that papery shell. I read somewhere that if you remove this, it's like sending a soldier out to war without any armor. So yeah, you do not want this to go into the ground and be attacked by all the life in the soil and killed. That's what the papery shell helps protect it against. Now, for any garlic pod, this is the base, this flat end, and the pointy end is the top part. So plant it this way. Here's my music garlic. Now, there is a direct relationship between the size of the pod and the size of the garlic that you eventually get. So you only want to plant the largest pods. So I wanted to show you the difference between hardneck and softneck. So as I just showed you, the hardneck has this really hard center and a few large bulbs around it. The softneck, on the other hand, if I can get to break this apart, so it's got the larger pods on the outside, but then as you get to the middle, there is no neck, like literally no neck. It's got pods all the way to the middle. So it's got much smaller pods, of course. And you don't want to plant these because these are going to result in really small garlic bulbs. But yeah, there is literally no neck to this thing. So I guess that's why they're called soft neck, because the neck's so soft it almost sort of dissipates into the pods. While I continue to peel this garlic, let's talk about planting your garlic. Now you want to choose a location that you are okay with having being held up for the next 9 months or so, because that is how long it takes garlic to grow from this to an actual bulb. So use a space that you know you're not going to use. So I've got a spot in the northern part of my garden where I'm going to be planting my garlic. Garlic also grows extremely well in containers. So it doesn't require soil that is too deep. So as long as you can get a container that has maybe about 9 inches of soil in it, and the soil is nice and rich and moist, Garlic does need a lot of moisture during the growing season, but it needs the soil to be well draining. It doesn't want to be sitting in soggy soil. It will rot. So nice, well draining, very rich soil. Make sure that the soil is got some great organic material in it, some good compost, and yeah, it'll grow wonderfully in containers. Oh, and one more really important tip. Do not separate your garlic before you are ready to plant it. Once you start to separate it, the shells start to disassociate from the clove and it just starts to degrade very rapidly and the lifespan of the garlic reduces considerably. So you want to separate them just when you're ready to plant them. Okay, so now we're down to the last step, which is planting the garlic. Now, arguably, this is the easiest step because all of that breaking those cloves apart, that wasn't fun or easy. But there are a few things that you need to know about planting garlic. First, your soil needs to be very well draining. I think I mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. Garlic does not like soggy soil. So well draining soil, which has a good amount of compost in it, is the way to go. Now, garlic does not like a soil that is very high in nitrogen because what it's going to end up doing is pushing out a lot of green growth and not really forming that bulb. So you do not want to fertilize your soil right before you plant garlic. So I prepared this bed with some really good compost and I covered it up with some black plastic actually for a couple of weeks just to let it all settle in and hopefully encourage some of the life from the soil to start to come up, things like earthworms, etc. So this soil is good and ready to go. I'm not going to do anything more to it until the garlic is starting to bulb out, at which point I will add a little bit of fertilizer. So you want to make sure that your garlic has at least about 6 inches around it because garlic and any member of the allium family does not like competition when it comes to fertilization. So if they cannot get the fertility that they need from the soil, they just won't grow well. It's not like they're going to steal from their neighbor. They just won't grow well. So make sure that you have a good distance between them. And you want to plant the clove again pointy side up. This is the bottom. This is the top. And you want to plant it a good, I'd say, 3 to 4 inches down. So push it down about double the height of the clove is what I usually go for. And that's it. You're done. So let me plant a couple more. Now you remember again, you're planting the biggest cloves because the biggest cloves produce the biggest heads. So I'm going to go ahead and keep doing this and finish up planting the rest of my garlic. Okay, so I've got all of my garlic planted up. I haven't yet covered the holes, but I've got about 50 or so pods that I've planted all together. So I'm going to cover this up, and the last step, and probably one of the most important steps, especially where I live, is to cover up this with quite a bit of mulch. And my mulch of choice is this partly decomposed hay. Now the idea behind covering it with a really thick layer of mulch, I'd say a good 3 to 4 inches of mulch, is to keep the soil cool because garlic needs cool soil. And you know, with my weather, it's unpredictable. Sometimes the days tend to get warmer. So I've got to keep the soil moist, so I'll water it in and then I'm going to cover it with a thick layer of straw. Water it in nicely. Remember, garlic needs moisture. I've actually got irrigation installed here and I'll probably put a few more of them as the weather starts to warm up in spring. Straw is really nice for mulch because it tends to reflect heat because of its light color. You just have to make sure that the straw that you use is from a trusted source because a lot of times straw comes with persistent herbicides in it. So make sure you check your sources. I have been burned before by using compost actually that came contaminated with persistent herbicide, and that mistake followed me for about 5 years. I couldn't grow any crops in that spot. So that was pretty easy, wasn't it? I hope you're growing garlic this year, and if you've got any great tips to share, I know people are always looking for tips on how to grow the biggest bulbs. Please do share your tips and tricks in the comments below. Oh, and if you want to know how to grow really large onions, I've got just the video for you right here. Until next time, live green and love your greens.